Okay, in this part of our lesson we are going to be using what we've learned over the past couple of weeks. We are going to be using line to draw different types of robots, actually, and we are going to be using the different shading types we've learned to try to colour them in a little bit more and make them look a little bit more interesting. Now, to start with, you are going to have what I would like to call a roll a robot sheet that I have put together. There are body shapes for different types of robots, for big, for small, for thin, for fat for robots. There are different types of heads, arms, legs, extra bits you might put on, and you might even think of your own for these. And there's even some questions you could think about towards the end after you create your robot. Now, in order to do this, you've got two different choices. You can use a dice to help you get started, or you can just pick the ones that you think look best. Or, if you are especially imaginative and creative, you can even come up with your own types of body shapes, heads, arms, legs, and different things to go on your robots. So I'm going to use this, and I hope you don't mind. I've already actually started drawing some robots using this, but I'm going to use this with you now to draw one more. So hopefully you'll be able to follow along with me, and I'm going to try and do one, and then afterwards you can try as well, and we'll see what it looks like. So, to get started with, I'm going to get my piece of paper ready, and the first area that I'm looking for is the body shapes. So I'm going to use my dice to help me with this one, and I'm going to put this robot next to some of the ones that I've made before. I'm also going to use a pen to draw this. I really like drawing in pens. I think it looks quite nice, and I think when we do the shading later, it makes it look quite interesting. But you can use whatever you like. You can use pencils, you could use markers, whatever your teacher says you can use, you are more than welcome to try. So, to start with, I'm going to start with the body types, because if I start where it says start and move down, number one is body shapes. So, you will notice there are numbers next to each part of the robot. If you are using a dice to help you, you're going to roll a dice. Okay, we've got number 3, so 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to find the part of the robot that I'm going to begin with. Now, I've already got that one once before, but that's not a problem because this is a small robot and the next robot I'm going to draw is going to be much bigger. Whilst you're drawing these, you might think of some of the questions that are on the end of the sheet, such as, what would your robot do? Would it be a helpful robot? And what might it be called? So a robot like this, that has a very big body, might be good for carrying heavy things. But as we add his arms, or her arms, its arms, and head and legs and everything else, maybe we'll get a better idea. There we go, there's my nice body, and I've just put some screws on each of the corners as well. If you're not able to get all the parts right from the drawings, that's fine, you just do the best that you can. Next, heads, number 2, heads. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I like this guy. This guy looks like he's got sunglasses on top of his head. So, let me start by adding the bit that connects him to the body. Your robot doesn't need to look like my robots. If you are changing your design, if you're not quite able to match it up, don't panic, don't worry. It's all about practice. It's all about drawing, getting a bit creative. If you want to put more lines in here, if you want to put more antennas on top, if you want to put an antenna coming out of his ear, that's up to you. You are the artist here. You're the one making the choices. I'm going to add a big smiley face. It's a happy robot. Whatever this robot does, he loves doing it. And I'm going to add in his super cool robot sunglasses. Whoa, isn't that nice? I'm going to make a small change actually. I'm going to put this middle bit together. Alright, next we are on number 3, arms. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I like this arm. It makes me think that maybe this robot needs a little bit of repairs, and one of his arms is a little bit broken because it looks like it's being held on by a string, and then it has at the end a really big pincer. You might even in your head come up with a little story for your robot as you're making it. Maybe he needs to go to the robot factories to get this fixed. You can either use the same arm twice, or what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll my dice twice for the second arm. Okay, this is a left arm, that's no problem. I'm going to add it to the side of the robot. think what I like about this guy so far is he just looks so happy. Let's add these small sections of metal here that gives him flexibility in his arms. On to number 4, legs. 6. Okay, this is quite a funny, like, bubbly leg. I have used this one before. So we add a number of bubbles all the way down, and then a big foot on the bottom for stomping. Whoa, it's very big. I'm going to roll it again to see what else I get. Number 3. Okay, I quite like that one. I'm going to use that one as well. You also have the freedom, if you don't like what you roll it again. See what else you can come up with. There we go. 2 very big legs, and toes on it as well. Now, after we finish with the legs, you can go into adding some extra bits if you want to. You could put some dials or buttons on top of here. You could put different types of screws or bolts. Maybe up here there's a few screws attached to a special bit on his head that's holding on to him there. I'll leave that up to you to come up with, and there should be some more pages that you can use to help you come up with some different ideas as well. And maybe you could even use your iPad to help you come up with some different ideas. Maybe your imagination, you're thinking of different bits and pieces that your robot might have. Maybe your robot might be a little bit broken, and there might be parts where we can see the inside of the robot too. The last thing I'm going to get you to think about after you finish drawing your robot is I'm going to get you to think about how we could use tone or shading in our work. We've got the 4 or 5 different techniques of shading that we looked at before: stippling, scumbling, shading, smudging, and cross-hatching. And you might notice in some of my earlier robots, I've used this just to make them look a little bit more interesting. What I'd like you to try is to make some robots of your own. You can put them next to each other, or you could just draw one, that's up to you. And I want to see if you can use some of the shading techniques to add a little bit of detail, like you can see in these robots. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope your robots look really, really interesting, and I hope you're able to come up with some really interesting stories for what these robots do and how they might help people. Until next time, take care and see you soon.